I'm looking around, and audio seems to be in sync with video. There's no other weirdness going on. I don't know. This may actually be a flawless start to the Mac to the Future podcast. And it looks like it only took me 44 tries. So yay for me. Everything is working. I can't believe it. And of course, this would not be the Mac to the Future podcast if I did not have Mr. Warren Sklar with me. Mr. Sklar, how are you today?
I am awesome. I am great. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
I finally got, I'm not going to go into it because I've already talked about it here on the show a couple times. I've got the entire portable thing podcast going, and I actually have it right now all set up in the other room, and trying, experimenting a little bit with it, trying to get all the settings right. It's still kind of a work in process, but all the pieces are there, and that's really the part that more or less counts. You know what I haven't done, and I'm going to try to set it up.
It's like a 30-pound briefcase or something of
oh my god,
right?
It's like huge. I mean, it's just it's so big and so heavy. So I'm looking at ways to try to reduce the weight a little bit, and hopefully that will happen. And part of the reason why I'm doing all this is we are getting ready to come up with the fourth. This is the fourth year in a row for Mac
stock.
Thank you, Mac stock. I just completely blanked there for a minute, and you would think that an event that I was actually the very first speaker for Mac stock back in 2015 when it started, that I would remember the name of this conference. And I love this show. I really, really do. Now, you're talking about going this year, aren't you? Maybe?
I thought I would try, but
okay.
I haven't made any effort to do that. As we get closer, I'll try to work out logistics on that. So I would love to go.
As a matter of fact, in honor, because they just announced, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can bring that up. They've, in honor of MacStock Expo.com, in honor of it's going to happen again. I'm actually wearing my MacStock Expo hat. I'm wearing my MacStock Expo shirt, and I've got my MacStock Expo great big belly. So I'm like totally set. Now the dates for this year are going to be July 21st and 22nd, and this is going to be in Woodstock, Illinois. And for those of you who have not gone to MacStock before, this is like a little taste of what the Macworld Expo was like. Not the whole show floor experience, which in like the last few years that it was around seemed to be mostly iPod and iPhone cases, but the camaraderie that came with the event, with all of the people that you would see at it year after year after year. So MacStock is like a little taste of that, of bringing that back, but fortunately on a much smaller scale, because I don't think Woodstock, Illinois could handle, 25 to 40,000 people. No, it just couldn't do it. Now, I said at the beginning that everything was working and everything was like wonderful, and of course I lied, because I didn't have the Xeno Live service going as we were kind of waiting for that, or as we were waiting for the show to begin. And I was talking to Brian Monroe after the show last week, and he actually did try to call in and it didn't work. So
right.
I have no idea why it's not consistent, why it
we
just...
we get so many. Actually, I was going to say we get so many calls. It's hard to know whether it's working or not. But
Yeah.
But Brian's a good caller. He's a good test case. So.
Well, he certainly is a test case. There's no doubt
Yes.
about that whatsoever. Just kidding, Brian. Mostly, sort of. Now I'm not seeing comments here.
So I am. So it looks like your niece is out there, Andrea.
Oh yeah,
Andrea
yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Andrea.
She's saying uncle, and Frank is here. He made it. He is going to the Macstock. He's booked.
Oh, excellent.
And he wants to see it, a lot of people. There, Brian's here. He sees comments. And who else is saying stuff? That's about it. Cletus.
Oh yeah, I think he was saying he was going to go.
Well, he's on the chat at least. Terry. Yeah. I mean, hey, if all these guys are going, then I have to go, right?
And now something like in years past, the first 2 years of Macstock, I actually did like a presentation. But last year, Tim Robertson of the Tech Fan podcast and myself, we recreated something that we kind of did at the last couple of Macworld Expos that we were together, and it was the My Mac Game Show quiz. And the way this basically worked was we would show you something on a screen. Now, when we were at the Macworld Expo, we didn't have a great big screen, so it was mostly just me standing there with a laptop, holding it over my head so everybody could see the graphic. And people would have to answer 3 questions, and if they could answer 3 questions, of course, related to Apple and Mac and all the rest of that, then they would win a prize, usually from whoever was sponsoring us. Well, last year when we did this at the Macworld Expo, at Macstock, we had, oh my God, we had a ton of prizes. And the goal wasn't to kind of test everyone's knowledge. It was to see if we could give all the prizes away because we didn't want to leave with any of these prizes. And sure enough, we did manage it. Okay, the Xeno live service is going. I have no idea if it's actually going to work or not. Please don't try to call just yet. We'll let you know. But that's basically what's going on. Woodstock, Illinois, where the Macstock Expo is going to be held, is very, very close to Chicago. Easy to get to from almost anywhere in the world. I mean, Chicago's like a huge major hub. There's lots of hotels. There's going to be all kinds of events besides Macstock going on. There's the big Saturday night party. The Friday night welcome party for the speakers is being opened up for other people to also join now. So you've got stuff going on Friday night. You've got stuff going on Saturday and Sunday with all the speakers. You've got stuff going on Saturday night with the big Barry Fox Midwest Mac Mingle. And, this is just going to be like a constant, nonstop 3-day party. So if you can get there, you should definitely get there. It's let's see, I think it's $200 for everything. And that includes the conference. That includes lunch for both days. That includes, there's nothing extra that you have to spend money on. That includes the party. That includes probably a t-shirt and a hat and God only knows what else Mike Potter is going to throw in. But we'll be talking about this more as time goes on and as the event gets closer. And of course, if you listen to Gaz and I on the MyMac podcast, we'll be talking about it quite a bit there too. And we'll try to get Mike Potter on to talk about it as the event gets a little bit closer.
And this goes over a weekend, right?
Yeah. It's going to start Friday night and it's going to go on until whenever the last speaker is on Sunday. And there's usually like a final dinner kind of get together after the conference is over. So if you want, chances are anyone who's there can probably go to that as well. That's not free. That's not, thrown in with everything else, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, give that some thought. If you can make it, please do so. Keep your calendars open. July 21st and 22nd, MacStock Conference and Expo. It's going to be a great time if past years are any barometer. Okay.
Awesome. Cool.
We have spent like 10 minutes now as a live commercial for the MacStock Conference and Expo, and I don't get anything out of that. As far as, I'm not being paid by Mike Potter to talk about it. I'm just really excited about it coming up again. But one of the topics I wanted to talk about tonight, I guess it was 2 or 3 years ago at WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference, where they were talking about an addition to the macOS and to iOS called Metal. And this was supposed to provide developers with like a direct line into the GPU to increase graphics performance. And Apple made like this really huge deal out of it at the time, but no one really talked about it much since then. Now I guess was it last year that they came out with Metal 2, or was it the year before?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think it was last year's Metal 2.
Okay.
And of course that was a big announcement too. I guess. Yeah,
but there was like no big, hey, this is what people are doing with Metal, other than, the chosen few developers that they bring up for these kinds of things.
Right. So, I mean, with this one, they come up with some iOS device, and they're like, we have the people from Funsoft, and they show off the iOS app that looks good. And they're like, we did this on Metal and it looks like great graphics. I mean, at this point, you could go into the App Store and find games and things with pretty good graphics. So maybe,
right.
They're just using it at this point.
Well, speaking of games, there was an article I saw on MacGamerHQ.com where they were talking about some of the games that have been designed to run with Metal. Mm-hmm. And they seemed kind of like not overly excited about it. And I think part of it is a lot of these games, I mean, just Metal in itself tells you that you kind of need to have a discrete GPU in order to take full advantage of what Metal kind of brings to the table. So if you're on, say, a Mac Mini or a standard MacBook or something that has like Intel integrated graphics, or not a real strong graphics card, there's a lot of these games that you just won't be able to play. And some of them are like really kind of amazing. You've got driver games like F1 2016 and 17, Dirt Rally, Micro Machines World Series. I mean, some of these I have never heard of before. Strategy games like World of Warcraft is now Metal ready. Warhammer, War Thunder. I'm seeing kind of a theme going on with those types of games. There's also some great first-person games like Bioshock, which it was a huge console hit. Hitman, Batman: The Enemy Within, and there was a game on Steam. What was the name of it? You had like engineers and snipers and God, I cannot think of the game. But there's a similar one that's also come out called Battle Royale, where I think you can either be on teams or you're on your own, and you create certain buildings and walls to protect yourself, and you still try to kill the other people. And these are all games that they're online, and you play them with other online gamers. And they sound great, except most have pretty high requirements, and many, like I said, need a dedicated graphics card. And based on how much hype that there's been on or with Metal, when is Apple going to come out with a few mid-range affordable computers that can play these games?
I honestly think that they are putting their eggs in the iOS basket with the games, and I think Metal is probably being used with them, and I think they're trying to compete with like a Nintendo Switch more than a PC or an Xbox. Something handheld that people want to play games on, and pay $1.99 every time they want to get extra lives. That seems to be what they're doing. Whenever they talk about metal or talked about it at the WWDC, they always brought out an iOS device to show it. They never show. They don't show it on the Mac. So I still don't think that Mac gaming is on Apple's radar as much as iOS gaming is.
Well,
but I don't know. I play Tetris and Pac-Man, so I don't know. I'm not a big gamer, so it doesn't particularly bother me. You could, and I honestly think that for the most part, you're better off getting a console anyways at this point of time in our lives, because gaming PCs are still not a mainstream thing as they're a little more mainstream than they were, but certainly the console wars are real, and certainly consoles are selling, they're just improving them every year. So I think people who want to play games are going to have a console, and people who want to sit on a couch and play a portable game is going to play it on an iPhone or iPad or a Nintendo Switch at this point. I don't see a lot of people really wanting to play games on their Mac.
Well, do you think, going off the rails a little bit, do you think that the Nintendo Switch is that a console gamer or is it a handheld? I know that it's got elements of both, but I mean, where's its real strength at?
I don't have one, but it's I guess it's a handheld that you could plug into the TV and play it on the big screen. I think it does more when it's connected to the TV. Right. And then as you take it off, it's less functional, but I think it's probably both. And that's why it's doing pretty well, because it's working. It's a concept that's working for them. So.
I know that my son Peter has one, and he loves it. And anytime he's here at the house, I mean, he usually does carry the little weird thing that it slips into to connect it up to a TV set.
Right.
But for the most part, damn it, this keeps trying to die on me here. For the most part, he's just playing in handheld. So when I see this, it really kind of makes me think that maybe this is more along the lines of, I mean, it seems to me that it's more of a handheld that you can also play on your TV as compared to being a TV console, gaming machine that you can also hold in your hand.
Yeah,
because the screen is gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see a lot of people playing, like, out and about, at the malls or restaurants and things like that. I don't see a lot of people playing a Switch. I see people playing on their iPhones, games on their iPhones, but not really. I don't see a lot of Switches out there. So I would think that a lot of it stays at the house too, but certainly it's not the same concept as like an Xbox or a PlayStation that's permanently grounded onto the TV. So it does different things. But, it's portable, and I think that portable gaming is still a big thing, and I think the iPhone is actually a very successful portable gaming machine for kids. Well,
I mean, there's certainly a ton of games available for iOS as compared to the Switch or really any handheld dedicated gaming console. I mean, you can't even compare it as far as numbers go. Now, there were quality is different.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of failures with the handhelds. I mean, you'll remember there was the PlayStation Portable was
PSP.
sort of okay. Yeah, that was
Yeah, my son Guy had a PSP and he raved about it, but then there were like no games that came out
they
for
kind
it.
of stopped doing. I had I think that's the last one, the last portable I had. But there were a few attempts at them, and then I think when smartphones came out, they died out, and I think Nintendo had to really decide whether they wanted to go back into it, and that's why they came out with this hybrid where it could do both. Um, because it's going to be hard to compete with smartphone gaming at this point.
Well, also
Everybody
I
has one.
think that the Wii U was a big disappointment for them. It sold really well early on, and
Mhm.
then just didn't seem to really pick up steam. Not as you
Yeah.
know, I mean, right now as far as the consoles go, you've got the Xbox T or the Xbox X,
It's the Xbox
One
One,
X.
and they have a One X or S. Now they have
Well,
a
there's a
nose
One
after.
S because that's what Guy wanted for his birthday. So, you know,
Yeah.
then there
There-
was, and he wanted the S because he had a 360, and apparently you can play 360 games on the S or something. I don't know, but
It's
and
the One
Peter
X,
bought
yeah.
and Peter bought a Wii U and raved about it, but after a relatively short amount of time, really didn't play on it very much.
So the the Xbox One X is the same as the Xbox One, but it does 4K. It does 4K. So if you don't have a 4K TV,
Then,
it's
yeah,
probably a little bit faster too. The Wii U, I think its problem was it tried to stay with more family-friendly titles than the other console, and I don't think that the Switch is doing that. Um, I think that was their biggest complaint was, it was really fun for Mario and Donkey Kong and things like that. But then, when,
yeah, the standard
you know,
titles.
yeah, and then when Xbox released, Death Battle, Kill Your Neighbor 1, whatever, Nintendo couldn't get it or something like that. So I think that hurt them. And, they're competing with the Wii before that, and the Wii was very popular and very good. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, I think Nintendo's in the game. I think Xbox, Microsoft's in the game. Sony's in the game. iOS is in the game. I don't think Mac is in the game as far as macOS. It's still not a gaming platform, and I don't think anybody's really sad about it.
Yeah,
Or maybe
and
they are. I don't know.
well, we kind of went off on a tangent there.
Metal. We were talking about
We
metal.
were talking about metal, yeah, and somehow we ended up talking about gaming systems.
But it all comes together because they may not be pushing metal as much as we think they might be because it's become less important to them. And, they got their games on iOS and that's what they want.
Okay, if anyone would like to call in with their opinion on metal or their opinion on our opinions of video game consoles, you can give us a call at 1-701-801-4367. Once you actually connect, dial 5 to request to talk to us, and I'm hoping, I have no idea whether it's actually going to work or not, because this is Xeno Live, which is the service that we've been using, has just been so completely unreliable that we have no idea if it's actually going to work or not. But while we're waiting to see if anyone is brave enough to call in, there was a story that happened in China.
Go ahead.
And apparently this guy had gone in to get his battery replaced. And I guess in a lot of Chinese repair shops or a lot of, electronic stores, there's a plethora of like fake parts or... Okay, looks like it's not working according to Brian.
Yeah, I see,
all right.
Brian. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Everything is turned on as far as I know. I don't really know what else to do. Anyway, so
Reboot?
this guy in China, I guess in an attempt to determine whether or not it was a genuine iPhone battery,
Yeah.
bit down on it, and I guess
Yep.
bit down on it hard enough to rupture it or rupture the inside of it. Fortunately, he had taken it out of his mouth, and you can watch the video of this. If I had actually thought about it, I would have had this queued up, but I didn't think about it until it was too late. As he was going to put the battery back down, it literally exploded right there on the counter. The fact that nobody was hurt is amazing. And the only reason why I bring this up is to tell people, please, for the love of God, don't put electronic components in your mouth. Don't bite down on them. That is a really, really dumb thing to do. Even I wouldn't do something like that.
I mean, there's a lot of questions to the story. I mean, like, I don't. Does it have? Why? Like, do batteries have different tastes? And
you got.
Was
you
he
gotta,
able to tell? I mean,
exactly.
Like, I mean, I don't even get to why he would have done it. I think he was probably hungry, and that was his excuse, was trying to find.
Well, you remember the old westerns. Gold coins. Gold coins.
Yeah,
so they would bite on a gold coin, and somehow or another, that would tell you whether it was a real gold coin or not. And I don't know how they could tell. Maybe it was the softness of the metal. Maybe gold has some particular taste over other soft metals. Who knows? But yeah, I have no idea why this guy thought that biting a battery was going to tell him whether or not it was a that it was a good battery. I don't know.
We could, if you want to test a couple out, we could, I have a bunch of batteries we could bring out, and
that's what I want to do.
This is a Mac stock idea. We're going to go to Mac stock, and we're going to take 5 people, and we're going to blindfold them, and we're going to have them bite into batteries and have them figure out which one's the taste test and which one's the real iPhone battery.
Well, even better, what we should do, 4 of them will be Hostess Twinkies. The 5th one will be a battery, and we have to see if we can get people to tell the difference between a Hostess Twinkie and an iPhone battery.
Of course, like the iPhone battery, he bites, nothing happened, and the next person bites the Twinkie, and the Twinkie explodes.
Twinkie explodes.
A great ball of fire.
What is it they say that that if there ever actually is a nuclear war, only 2 things will survive: cockroaches and Hostess Twinkies. That'll be it. Anyway, on that little happy note, we're going to take a little break here. When we come back, we have a few other stories to talk about, and then we'll call it a night. Okay, so everyone hold on. We'll be right back.
Everybody, please stand by. And, we'll be right back.
And welcome everyone back to the mymac.com podcast.
All right, so let's carry on. But
I'm still laughing about something that happened just before we started recording, and we're going to talk about that right now.
I don't know if you heard, Guy, but Sal Seguin. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that. He's leaving Apple. It's a tragedy for everybody.
Oh dear, this is not going well, is it? We are so childish.
We are.
Really are.
It's the G-Men on the mymac.com podcast. Okay. Hey, we're back. Yay. It's us again. We have a few more things to talk about before we wrap it up for the night. And I guess these are 2 relatively big stories. The first one is that the HomePod, the Wi-Fi speaker that nobody was asking for is going to finally be on sale. Let's see. That's going to be on sale February 9th, though I think you can pre-order this Friday. Is that what they're saying?
Friday. Yeah, Friday morning.
Now, I don't have the Google Assistant, and I don't have the Amazon Assistant here in the house, mostly because, I don't have any home automation, so I can't sit there and say, hey, turn on the light in the other room, so that I don't actually have to stand up and walk over and hit the light switch. So,
I do.
Well, do you use it a lot?
I use it a lot.
And you're okay. Which one is it? Is it the Google or the Amazon? The Googles or the Amazons?
The Amazon women.
Yeah. On from the moon.
All right. So I have a bunch of Amazons. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 6 or 7 devices now, and they're kind of spread all over. I started with them pretty early, and I use them literally for a few things. Okay, in the morning, I could say her name, good morning, and she'll read me the news. She'll turn my lights on.
So wait, do you have to set up like an RSS feed for her to gather information, or is this just what she thinks that you're interested in?
In the Amazon app, there's some places you could pick your news sources from, or what kind of news you're interested in.
Okay, well that's kind of like an RSS.
It's sort of, but it's really, I didn't put in too much, and it gives me everything I want to hear, so it's pretty good. Does the weather, and then at night I could say good night, and it will turn off the TV, and I'll dim the lights down. So I do that, and then, I mean, the price of admission is really the TV control. If you get a Harmony Hub with it, literally you don't have to find a remote ever again. It's my wife loves it, my kid loves it. I mean, people come over, and that's how they change TVs. When people are in your house.
Well, wait, does it connect up to the Apple TV, or is it some other box that you've got there?
It's the way they do it now. It's Logitech sells this hub. It's called a Harmony Hub, and when you connect it to your cable boxes and your TV and things like that. So then you say her name, turn on the TV, and I will turn on TV. Her name, turn on CBS, I will turn on CBS. Her name, turn on the volume, turn off the TV. It does everything. And you don't realize how much you want it until you
have it.
and I mean, if the HomePod did just that and I didn't have anything set up already, I would buy the HomePod just for that and nothing else. People used to come over like guests and like couldn't figure out the remotes on the TV, but this they could figure out. They could come in and turn on the TV. So that, and then it plays music, and then the big thing between the music is what's in the Amazon Music. Compared to what's on Apple Music. And to be honest with you,
do you have the dots, or do you have something that's a little bit bigger?
I have the first generation Tower Echo. I have 2 of them. I have a beach house and in this house, so I got 2 houses here. But I have the 2 towers. I have 1, 2,
Stephen King.
3 dots. And I got a spot, and the spot is like the little alarm clock with a screen on it, and it's great. It's awesome. My son has one, and so we could compare this to. I have one Google one because somebody wanted to know what to get me for Christmas, and I didn't know what to tell them, and I told my wife to tell them that just to see what it does. And so I have one Google Mini, the $39 to $30 one. So anyways, with the Echoes, you can hook them up to Bluetooth speakers. You can hook them up to speakers using just the cable, like what do they call those? the headphone cables, 3.5.
Oh yeah, the TRSS or TRRS or
Yeah. So you hook them up to speakers. They are not the best sounding things. The towers sound pretty good. The dots don't, but they're not meant to.
right.
They are. That's why they're cheap. But you can hook them up to. I have one upstairs hooked up to like this Onyx Bluetooth speaker. It sounds great. I got off Amazon a couple of wireless bookshelf speakers hooked up to another one, and I could play it, but it sounds great. I mean, is it going to sound as good as the HomePod? I doubt it.
Well,
but,
we really don't know because it hasn't come out.
We don't know, but the way Apple's selling it is basically like we're going to hear music in a way we never heard music ever before is the way they're trying to sell it. And
well,
I'm sure
they said the same thing about Beats headphones. So
yeah. I mean, so I'm sure it's going to sound good. Brian's mentioning here something that's a big issue with the HomePod and Siri and HomeKit is basically, I would say, probably 30% of the Internet of Things devices out there are HomeKit compatible compared to
the rest.
Compared to the rest, Amazon compatible is basically the standard, and then there's so many things to talk about with it. I mean, there's a security aspect of it, and of course, the security aspect of these things. Is the HomePod really going to be that much more secure? Is HomeKit more secure? And the answer is all these devices. Well, even so, all these Internet of Things devices are not just going to be HomeKit compatible. They're all going to be HomeKit, Amazon, and Google compatible. So they're going to have all that, insecurity in there anyways, those devices. And Apple, their HomeKit was the only news story I heard really that had a security issue out of all these devices, which was there was some kind of remote thing where somebody could remote on like as a guest or something to unlock your door or something. They fixed, Apple fixed it within hours, but people are so concerned about the security aspect and they're so concerned about the privacy aspect. And Amazon, and I don't think Google, but Amazon, if there was a news story that broke out that really said there was a privacy issue or a security issue, Amazon would lose billions of dollars if people started, turning off their echoes.
Well, do you think that the security concerns are real because these devices, the way that they come configured, are pretty much wide open with standard passwords that are set across entire domains of these devices. So if the bad guys know the login password for, say, a baby monitor with a camera that's from device maker X, chances are, because they're all sharing components, it's going to be that same standard password unless the people that buy it take the time and trouble to change it. It's all going to be the same all the way across.
These devices don't have passwords on there. Basically,
they're wide open.
It has a Wi-Fi. It connects to your secure network, your Wi-Fi network. That's how it does it. Just like that's
well,
basically
you're assuming
saying, that
people's Wi-Fi networks are secure.
Well, if they're not secure, then your computers and your phones are just as risk than anything else. I mean, if they're on your network, they're on your network, and that's different. But am I worried about people breaking in and seeing what's in my cameras, or am I worried about the Amazon listening to me all day? No, I mean, everybody, all these doomsday people are like, it's going to happen. I'm like, what? What's going to actually happen? I mean, let's pretend, I don't know. Let's pretend somebody's listening and watching me 24 hours a day now.
What are
who
they
and
gonna
why
say?
and what a who and what and why. I'm not convinced that these things are the only way people could do that, if they really wanted to. But they're not. And Apple's, they are security minded, but we're talking about a product that's not out yet, and we're talking about
Right.
something
And
that
yeah, so we honestly have no idea right now as far as the HomePod goes, how well it's going to
yeah.
work, if it's going to work as well or not as well. We won't really know until February 9th, because the HomePod that they showed us when they announced the product is not going to be the same device that they actually release on February 9th. They've had 6-7 months now to make some changes, and I'm sure they have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people are in the chat room like, your privacy and security, and what's going to happen when the FBI is actually listening to every conversation you're having.
Well, they can
I don't
pretty
know.
much do that anyway.
Seriously,
remotely.
I mean, if I'm that important, then people are going to find a way to listen or spy on me, no matter what I have.
Set up Babel boxes in each one of your rooms. And
Seriously,
for people that don't know what a Babel box is, I don't know. Do you know what a Babel box is?
No.
A Babel box, and when I first saw them, this was back in the 80s, it was done with 8-track tapes, which should tell you something about the type of technology that this was built into. So you would have, like, say, a secure conference room. And you've got a number of people that are coming to this secure conference room to have a conference, to talk about something that may be considered classified. So if you're in, say, a hostile environment, Russia, China, you would set up these Babel boxes because, they can take a laser pointed at a window and hear everything that's going on within the room that window is attached to. So what this Babel box would do, it would take, it's not even background noise. It's because even if you could put like white noise up, but with as sophisticated as computers are these days, they could still isolate, individual voices, sounds that are related to voice rather than the white noise. They can filter that out. So what this device would do, it would put up, like, it would be aimed at these windows, and you couldn't hear it from inside the room, but it would put up like 20 different people all talking at one time, and the volume of these people speaking would go up and down and back and forth and phase in, phase out. So there was never anything in particular that you could focus on to filter out to get to something else. And so, yeah, that's what Babel boxes were. And a funny story, I was a technician at the time, and I didn't really have much to do, so I saw this box. It was this 8-track player, and it was like, well, let me see if I can get this working. So I'm working on it, and I'm thinking, okay, this looks like it's going to work. And I looked around, because even in the 80s, who still had 8-track tapes? And I see this 8-track sitting there. So I pick it up, and I put it in, and I have it connected to a speaker, and it just puts out this noise of just all these people talking, and I didn't understand that that's exactly what it was supposed to do. So I actually fixed the problem, but didn't know it, because all I could hear was just all this gobbledygook coming out of the speakers. Anyway,
there's something at CES this year that somebody was talking about, was basically similar. It's some kind of
Babelfish. Yes, Frank.
It was some kind of automated light show and noise thing that and what it does is basically, when you're not home, it gives the impression of people in the house. They're like shadows in the TV kind of scrolling on and off. And it was kind of like, what a Home Alone kid tried to do. Yeah. But automated.
There's I don't know if you've seen them, these Halloween and Christmas themed projectors that you actually have it go up against your window, And it looks
shows the
like,
movie,
for the Halloween ones, it looks like there's vampires and zombies and stuff. And the Halloween one is Santa Claus. But there's no reason at all that you couldn't just have, random people walking back and forth. And it looks like, the lights are on in somebody's home.
Yeah. And again, with the automation now, like, it's kind of getting there. I mean, right now I have cameras, I have lights that go on certain times. I mean, my house looks lived in when I'm not here,
right?
Although I'm here most of the time, anyways. But for now, I'm enjoying my smart speaker. I mean, if something horrible happens to me, at least I'll have a couple of years of enjoying not having to get up and having my speaker play the Les Miserables soundtrack when I wanted to play
it.
Yay! So it's screw everybody else.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get it, don't.
You got yours. That's what matters.
Hey, I'm living happy. I may not have to move again. I mean.
Okay. Last thing for the evening. Apple released a bunch of updates. macOS High Sierra 10.13.3, iOS 11.2.5, watchOS 4.2.2, and tvOS 11.2.5. Of all of those, the only one that I am not using is the High Sierra one, for the reasons, we talked about this before we started recording tonight, and I think I've talked about it here on the show. The last High Sierra update completely borked my computer. It whatever the driver is that I have for the video card that I put in to be able to do this show, it saw that update and was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to work right, so screw you. So I basically had to go to my Carbon Copy Cloner update and wipe my SSD and then load in my last backup. And I'm not updating High Sierra until I'm sure that the graphics card that I have in this machine is going to work. You've updated everything, haven't you?
Yeah, and the chat room's talking about the betas that came out today too. So usually, usually I stay on the betas now, and so for a day I was on production. What happens is yesterday the gods lined up and everything that was on my computers were the ones that are released to the public, and it worked for the day, but they were pretty much the same as the beta before that. So now the new betas came out and I put them on today. I mean, it's not like it used to be really with these betas. It's so little changes it's like you don't even notice it anymore. So it's not a big deal.
Unless there's like a really huge, big, serious bug. But if there was, chances are it was there in the previous version too.
Yeah, I mean, there's not. I mean, in the past, the way it goes is basically when a beta comes out for an operating system, a major release, when the beta comes out, it's a buggy nightmare. It's horrible. It's slow. It's everything like that. But by the time we're at this point now,
it's usually pretty smooth.
Yeah,
unless you have a graphics card that Apple doesn't like.
I have a game that actually stopped working that I really like, and with one of the so it started not working on my iPhone with one of the betas, but then yesterday the release came out, the 11.2.5, and I put that on there, and the game still didn't work. Oh. Nope, still didn't work. So I mean, it's it may not be beta anyways, but
well, I want Robot Loves Kitty back. Why? How come the developer can't fix Robot Wants Kitty? I love that game.
I don't know. I play this game called 2048 just constantly. It's like a puzzle game, and it's like it's just, that's the only thing I play.
Do you think that all these updates are mostly related to them getting ready to release HomePod?
The ones that came out today or yesterday were definitely. A lot of actually the iOS one definitely was. It has the news thing with Siri and it has HomePod capability or something, whatever that means. The rest of them, I don't think so. I think they're just kind of bug
fixes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the beta came out today is supposedly can do AirPlay 2. And for those that didn't hear, the HomePod is not going to ship with AirPlay 2, and it's also not going to ship with the ability to pair with each other to make like a chain of them, or to separate them from left to right. So it's not shipping with a bunch of things.
With a bunch of the stuff that they said it was going to have.
Yeah. So, I'm listening to a couple of podcasts, and basically people all think that that's part of the delay. The delay was they couldn't get this whole home system going, and that's why it was delayed. And I think they finally just said, well, we have to do something.
We got to ship something. Well, you know what? They shouldn't have. And this is, in the day, they never would have released something like this. They never even would have talked about something like this until it was ready to go. So
they've done that. Yeah. I mean, 3 things already now. So like the Apple file system, the new Apple file system is one.
Has not been. They didn't have all the features that they said it was going to have.
iCloud feature, iCloud message
ongoing.
Syncing. Yeah, and then this the AirPods syncing together. So they make a big deal about it and in the features, but it's not working. So yeah, you're exactly right. People, if they didn't even mention it and added those features later, people would be amazed.
It'd be like, wow, this thing does all these great stuff. Sorry it took them so long to put it out, but at least it all works. And now it's like, well, we're putting it out, but it doesn't do all the stuff that we said it was going to.
Or you're
then
not
they shouldn't have said.
All.
Then they shouldn't have said it was going to do that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a foot in the mouth kind of thing going for them. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, the betas look promising, and the production software that came out yesterday, I didn't have any issues. I read a few people saying that it took longer than it should have, or a few people saying that it didn't work, but not anything bad. So
okay. Well, that's
except for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't. That's going to do it for tonight.
Cool.
People can reach both of us over there in the Mac to the Future page. If you are a Mac user and would like to join it's dead simple. Just go and request to join the Mac to the Future page. It's a great Facebook group. It's a great Apple group. And I guess you don't really want to say any other way to contact you, do you?
Come to my house.
Just knock on the door. Yeah. I could use some coffee.
Yeah. No, you find me on Facebook. I think I have a Twitter thing, but I don't use it. You know what? If you need to get a hold of me, get a hold of Guy, and he'll get a hold of me. Yeah.
And you really, the best way to get a hold of me is probably either on the Facebooks or over on Twitter, where my handle there is MacParrot. I also have a email address, but I haven't checked it in a while, guy@mttfgo.com. We have a Skype number that you can call and leave a message, and we'll play it right here on the show. It's area code 703-436-9501. That's 703-436-9501 here. And that's, of course, it's a United States number, so if you call from overseas, it will probably cost you a lot more. I think that will do it for this evening. I'd like to say thanks to everyone who has joined us and said all kinds of wonderful things there in the chat room. We really, really do appreciate the fact that you're here watching and listening.
They're all yelling at each other. It's horrible.
Oh, is it? Oh, come on, dudes.
I'm kidding.
Don't fight. Don't fight. Be nice.
No, they're all helping each other. It's great.
Be nice.
Anyway,
cookies. That is going to do it for tonight, everyone. Warren, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
And we will see everyone next week. Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You know, mea culpa.
Wait,
Mea culpa. Mea culpa.
I never noticed that the moose has bloodshot eyes. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right.
For everyone who complained that it still said 2017, I actually updated that particular little movie, but forgot to upload it and put it into OBS so that it would play. And yeah, I feel stupid.
Complaining. Yeah. You know,
2018. Yes, Frank, I know it's 2018.
We'll get it right at 2019. We'll put
Yeah.
the 2018 in there.
Yeah. No,